The morning routine at the Martinez house was always the same. Lily would wake up at 6:30, brush her teeth with the toothbrush she'd had for 3 months, not because they couldn't afford a new one, but because it still worked fine. She'd put on one of her 3 school dresses, the blue one with small flowers, the yellow one with white trim, or the green one that was her favorite, and braid her long dark hair the way her father had taught her. Downstairs, her father David would already be in the kitchen, making her lunch. A sandwich, usually peanut butter and jelly on the bread, he baked himself every Sunday. An apple from the tree in their backyard. A small container of carrots he'd cut into stars because she liked them better that way. "Ready, mija?" "Ready, Poppy." They'd drive to school in the old pickup truck, the one with the dent in the fender and the radio that only worked on 2 stations. Lily would wave goodbye as her father pulled away, and then she'd take a deep breath and walk into Franklin Elementary School, where the real challenge began. If you're watching this video and you've ever felt judged for what you have, or don't have, hit that subscribe button now, because this story is going to change how you think about everything. "Nice dress, Lily. Is that the same one you wore on Monday?" Madison Pierce had a gift for making simple questions sound like insults. She stood in the hallway with her usual group, Brittany and Ashley and Emma, all of them in clothes that cost more than Lily's entire wardrobe. "It's Thursday," Madison continued, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Do you only have, like, 3 dresses?" "I like this dress," Lily said quietly. "My grandmother made it." "Your grandmother made it? Oh my God, that's so sad." Madison exchanged glances with her friends, and they all laughed. "My mom bought me this at Nordstrom. It's designer." Lily didn't say anything. She'd learned that saying anything only made it worse. She just clutched her backpack, the one with the safety pin holding the strap together, and walked to her classroom. Behind her, she heard Madison's final comment. "I bet her daddy can't buy her nice things. Maybe if her mom hadn't left, she'd have better clothes." The words hurt. They always hurt. But Lily had promised her father she wouldn't cry at school, so she saved her tears for the pillow at night, where no one could see them. David Martinez knew about the bullying. He knew about Madison Pierce and her comments about Lily's clothes. He knew about the designer backpacks and expensive lunches, and all the ways his daughter was made to feel less than. He knew because Lily told him everything. They had that kind of relationship, the kind where nothing was hidden and everything was shared. "I could buy you new dresses," David said one evening, after Lily had finished telling him about Madison's latest comment. "I could buy you 100 new dresses if you wanted them." "I know, Poppy. I could buy you the fanciest backpack in the store, the most expensive lunchbox, whatever you wanted. I know. But do you understand why I don't?" Lily nodded slowly. They'd had this conversation before, many times, in many different ways, because nice things don't make nice people. "Exactly." David pulled his daughter close. "And because I want you to know that your worth has nothing to do with what you wear, or what you carry, or what you eat for lunch. You are valuable because of who you are, not what you have. But it's hard, Poppy, when they laugh at me." "I know it's hard, mija, and I'm sorry you have to go through it, but one day, you'll understand why it matters. One day, you'll be grateful that you learned this lesson young." Lily wasn't sure she believed that, but she trusted her father more than she trusted anyone in the world, so she nodded and hugged him tight. "I love you, Poppy. I love you too, mija, more than all the stars in the sky." The truth about David Martinez was something Lily understood in pieces, the way children understand adult things, partially, incompletely, but with a wisdom that surprised even David sometimes. She knew that her father worked in an office downtown, though she wasn't sure exactly what he did there. She knew that people called him Mr. Martinez on the phone, and seemed to want his opinion about things. She knew that sometimes he traveled for business and came back tired but happy. What she didn't fully understand, what David had deliberately kept from her, was that her father was the founder and CEO of Martinez Technologies, a software company that had started in their garage and grown into a billion-dollar enterprise. She didn't know that the simple house they lived in was simple by choice, not necessity, that David had bought it because it reminded him of the house where he'd grown up, back when his family had truly been poor. She didn't know that the old pickup truck sat in the garage next to a collection of cars worth more than most people's homes. She didn't know any of this because David didn't want her to know. Not yet. Not until she was old enough to understand that money was a tool, not an identity. That character mattered more than currency, that the way you treated people when you had nothing told you everything about who you'd be when you had everything. It was a hard lesson to teach, but David had learned it the hard way himself, and he was determined that his daughter would learn it better. The incident that changed everything happened on a Friday afternoon in late October. The school was having a special parent pickup day, some kind of curriculum showcase where parents were invited to come early and see what their children had been learning. The parking lot was packed with vehicles, and the usual social dynamics were on full display. Karen Pierce, Madison's mother, held court near the entrance, surrounded by the other PTA mothers. They all drove luxury SUVs and carried designer bags and spoke in that particular tone of voice that managed to be both friendly and exclusionary at the same time. "Did you see the Martinez girl today?" Karen was saying as Lily walked past. "Same dress as Tuesday. I swear her father must be completely destitute. Have you seen his truck? It looks like it belongs on a farm." The other mothers laughed. Lily kept walking, her eyes fixed on the ground, her cheeks burning with shame. "I heard the mother left," another woman added. "Probably couldn't stand living like that. Can you imagine?" Lily found a bench near the pickup area and sat down, hugging her backpack to her chest. She watched the other kids greeting their parents, climbing into shiny cars, showing off projects and artwork. She waited for her father's old pickup truck to appear in the line. It didn't. Instead, something else pulled into the parking lot. Something that made every conversation stop mid-sentence and every head turn to look. It was a car unlike anything Franklin Elementary had ever seen. Sleek and black and gleaming in the afternoon sun, it looked like something from a movie about the future. It moved through the parking lot slowly, almost silently, and came to a stop directly in front of the bench where Lily was sitting. The door opened upward, actually upward, like wings, and out stepped David Martinez. He was wearing the same jeans and flannel shirt he always wore, the same worn work jacket, the same kind smile. But everything else about the moment was completely different. "Ready to go, Mija?" Lily's eyes were wide. "Poppy? What is this?" "This is the car I drive when I have important meetings downtown. I thought today might be a good day to bring it instead of the truck." Behind them, the parking lot had gone completely silent. Karen Pierce's mouth was hanging open. Madison was staring with an expression that couldn't decide between shock and envy. The other parents were frozen in place, their previous conversation completely forgotten. David walked around the car and opened the passenger door for his daughter. It lifted up just like the driver's door, elegant and impossible, and completely out of place in the suburban school parking lot. "Hop in, sweetheart. I thought we might get ice cream on the way home." The aftermath of that Friday afternoon rippled through Franklin Elementary like an earthquake. By Monday morning, everyone knew. Parents had researched David Martinez over the weekend and discovered what Lily's classmates had never imagined. Her father wasn't poor. He was one of the wealthiest people in the state. His company had been featured in business magazines and news programs. He donated millions to charity. He sat on boards and advised governments and spoke at conferences around the world, and he drove an old pickup truck to school every day because he wanted to. Madison Pierce was the first to approach Lily that Monday. Her usual smirk was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like nervousness. "Hey Lily, I really like your dress today. Is that the blue one? Blue is my favorite color." Lily looked at her, confused. "It's the same dress you made fun of last week." "I didn't make fun of it. I was just asking about it. I think it's really pretty." "Did your grandmother really make it?" "Yes, she made all my dresses." "That's so cool. My grandmother doesn't know how to sew." Madison shifted awkwardly. "Hey, do you want to sit with us at lunch today?" Lily considered the offer. Part of her, the part that remembered all the cruel comments and pointed fingers and lonely lunches, wanted to say no. Wanted to make Madison feel even a fraction of the rejection Lily had felt all year. But another part of her remembered what her father had taught her, about being kind to people even when they weren't kind to you, about understanding that hurt people often hurt others, about the power of forgiveness and the weakness of revenge. "Sure," Lily said. "I'd like that." That evening, Lily told her father everything, about Madison's sudden friendliness, about the other kids who now wanted to talk to her, about the parents who smiled at her in the hallway instead of ignoring her. "How do you feel about it?" David asked. "Confused. They only like me now because they know you're rich." "That's true. So their friendship isn't real." "Maybe not yet, but it could become real with time." Lily frowned. "I don't understand." David sat down beside her on the couch, the same couch they'd had since Lily was a baby, comfortable and worn and perfectly good, regardless of what they could afford to replace it with. "People are complicated, Mija. Madison was mean to you because she thought you were beneath her. Now she knows you're not, so she's trying to be nice. That's not true friendship, you're right about that. But it's also an opportunity." "An opportunity for what?" "To show her what real friendship looks like. To teach her, by example, that being kind to people shouldn't depend on what they have or don't have. To be the person you wish she had been to you." "That seems really hard." "It is hard, but the hard things are usually the ones worth doing." Lily thought about this for a long time. "Why did you let them make fun of me?" she finally asked. "You could have shown up in that car on the first day of school. You could have told everyone who you were. I wouldn't have had to be the girl with the safety pin backpack." David's eyes grew sad, the kind of sad that came from love and difficult choices and hoping you'd done the right thing. "Because I wanted you to know who you are without all of that. I wanted you to develop your character in circumstances where character actually matters, where you couldn't fall back on money or status or any of the things that make life easier but don't make people better." "Did it work? You tell me. When Madison was mean to you, did you ever want to be mean back?" Lily nodded. "Sometimes. But did you?" "No." "Why not?" "Because you taught me that being mean doesn't make you feel better. It just makes two people feel bad instead of one." David smiled, the proud smile of a father who had done his best and watched it pay off. "That's why I let them make fun of you, because the girl who learned that lesson, who lived it every day without any help from my money, that girl is going to be unstoppable. That girl is going to change the world. Not because of what she has, but because of who she is." Madison Pierce's transformation wasn't immediate. Real change never is. At first, she sat with Lily at lunch because she wanted to be associated with the rich girl. She complimented Lily's dresses because she thought it might lead to invitations to fancy parties. She was friendly in the calculated way that people are friendly when they want something. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. Maybe it was the day Lily shared her carrots, the ones her father cut into stars, even though Madison's lunch was 3 times as elaborate. Maybe it was the afternoon Lily helped Madison with math, patiently explaining fractions without any hint of condescension. Maybe it was the moment Madison realized that Lily treated her exactly the same way she'd treated her before the car incident, with quiet kindness that expected nothing in return. Whatever the cause, Madison began to change. She stopped making comments about other kids' clothes. She started sharing her own lunch with students who had less. She asked her mother for a simpler backpack, one without logos or designer labels. "Why would you want that?" Karen Pierce had asked, horrified. "Because Lily says the important thing isn't what you carry, it's what you carry inside." Karen hadn't understood, but Madison was starting to. The school year ended with a surprise announcement. The Martinez family was donating a new computer lab to Franklin Elementary, state-of-the-art equipment that would give every student access to technology many of them couldn't afford at home. But the donation came with a condition. It would be named the Second Chance Learning Center. "Because everyone deserves a second chance," Lily explained at the dedication ceremony, reading from a speech she'd written herself. "Even the people who were mean to you. Even the people who made fun of your backpack, or your dress, or your lunch. They deserve a chance to learn and grow and become better people." She looked out at the audience, at Madison, who was crying quietly in the front row, at Karen Pierce, whose expression had changed from condescension to something approaching respect, at all the students and parents and teachers who had watched a bullied girl become something unexpected. "My dad taught me that being rich isn't about how much money you have. It's about how much kindness you give, and you can be the richest person in the world." She smiled, "even if your backpack has a safety pin holding it together." Years later, Lily Martinez would graduate from high school as valedictorian. Her speech would reference that day in elementary school, the day her father showed up in the impossible car, the day everything changed. "I learned something important when I was young," she told her classmates. "I learned that the people who mock you for having less are usually the ones who have less themselves, less kindness, less character, less understanding of what really matters." She looked at the audience, at her father sitting in the front row with tears in his eyes. "My dad drove an old pickup truck to school every day. He let people assume we were poor. He let them judge us. He did all of that because he wanted me to learn something that money can't buy, the knowledge of my own worth, the understanding that who I am is separate from what I have, the wisdom to see that the people who judge you by your possessions are telling you more about themselves than about you." She smiled. So, to everyone who ever wondered why the rich kid wore old clothes and carried a broken backpack, now you know. It wasn't because we couldn't afford better. It was because better isn't always more expensive. Sometimes, better is simpler, kinder, truer. Sometimes, better is a dad who loves you enough to let you struggle, a dad who trusts you enough to find your own strength. She looked at David. "Thanks, Poppy, for everything." Madison Pierce was at that graduation. She'd become one of Lily's closest friends over the years, not the fake friendship based on money, but something real that had grown from shared experiences and genuine care. After the ceremony, Madison found Lily in the crowd. "I never apologized," Madison said. "Not properly. For all those things I said when we were kids." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. Because you changed my life, Lily. Not because your dad turned out to be rich, but because you were kind to me when you had every reason not to be. You showed me what real strength looks like, and I've spent every year since then trying to be more like you." Lily hugged her. "You already are. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, if kids are mocking your clothes or your car or anything else that doesn't matter, remember Lily Martinez. Remember that the people who judge you by what you have are the ones with the real poverty. Poverty of character, poverty of kindness, poverty of understanding, And remember that someday, somehow, the truth comes out. Maybe not with a fancy car in a school parking lot. Maybe just with the slow revelation that the quiet kid in the simple clothes was building something all along: character, strength, wisdom, that the bullies never developed. Those are the things that last. Those are the things that matter. Like and subscribe for more stories of humble heroes and instant karma. Drop a comment telling us about a time someone judged you by what you had and how it turned out. Until next time, your worth isn't what you wear, it's who you are. David Martinez had made his fortune the hard way. He'd started with nothing, literally nothing. His parents had immigrated to the United States when he was 3 years old, bringing only what they could carry. His father worked construction, his mother cleaned houses. They lived in a 2-room apartment where David shared a mattress on the floor with his 2 brothers. Education was his escape. He studied harder than anyone in his school, earned scholarships that paid for college, then graduate school, then the small apartment where he'd built his first computer program in the evenings after working his day job. Martinez Technologies had started as a side project, a simple program that helped small businesses manage their inventory. David had written it for the auto parts store where his father bought supplies for weekend repair jobs. The owner had liked it so much, he'd asked if David could sell it to other businesses. Within 5 years, that simple program had evolved into a comprehensive business management platform used by thousands of companies. Within 10 years, it had gone public. Within 15, David Martinez was worth more than he'd ever imagined possible. But money hadn't changed him. That was what everyone said. Everyone who knew him, everyone who did business with him, everyone who'd watched his quiet rise from poverty to wealth. David Martinez drove the same truck, wore the same clothes, lived in the same modest house. Not because he was cheap or eccentric, but because those things reminded him of who he really was. His wife had understood that. Maria had loved him when he had nothing, and she'd loved him exactly the same when he had everything. They'd built their life together around values, not valuables, around character, not currency. When Maria died, a sudden illness that took her in 6 weeks, leaving David alone with a 3-year-old daughter, he'd made a decision. He would raise Lily the way Maria would have wanted. He would teach her what mattered and what didn't. He would give her the childhood he'd had, not the poverty, but the perspective, not the struggle, but the strength. It wasn't easy, especially when the bullying started, especially when he watched his daughter come home with tears in her eyes and questions about why she couldn't have what other kids had. He could have ended it any time. One phone call, one revelation, and the Madison Pierces of the world would have been falling over themselves to be Lily's friend. But that would have taught Lily exactly the wrong lesson. It would have taught her that the answer to cruelty was status, that the solution to meanness was money, that respect could be bought instead of earned. So he held back. He waited. He watched his daughter develop exactly the character Maria would have wanted her to have. And when the moment came, when it was time for a lesson of a different kind, he showed up in the car that cost more than most houses in the neighborhood. Not to brag, not to show off, not to humiliate anyone, just to demonstrate that everything they'd assumed was wrong. The days following the parking lot incident were strange for Lily. Kids who'd never spoken to her suddenly wanted to be her friend. Parents who'd ignored her now smiled and waved. Teachers who'd treated her like any other student began asking if there was anything special she needed. Lily noticed all of it, and she didn't like it. "It feels fake," she told her father one evening. "They don't actually like me. They like that you're rich." "You're right. So what do I do? What do you want to do?" Lily thought about it. "I want them to like me for me, not for you, not for your money." "Then you have to show them who you are, consistently, over time. until they forget about the car and remember the person. How long will that take? As long as it takes. Real relationships aren't built in a day, mija. They're built in thousands of small moments, acts of kindness, gestures of friendship, proofs that you care about people for who they are. Like you do? Like I try to. Lily leaned against her father, taking comfort in his steady presence. Was it like this for you, when you got rich? Worse. I was an adult, which meant people were more sophisticated about pretending. They'd smile and flatter and tell me what I wanted to hear. It took years to figure out who was real and who was just interested in my money. How did you figure it out? By watching how people treated others, especially people who couldn't do anything for them. The ones who were kind to everyone, regardless of status? Those were the real ones. The ones who only showed up when they needed something? Those were the users. Is that why you always say to watch how people treat waiters and janitors? Exactly. The way someone treats a person with no power tells you everything about their character. The computer lab dedication happened in spring. David had wanted to make the donation anonymously, but the school board had insisted on a ceremony. So there he was, standing at a podium in the gym, wearing his usual jeans and flannel shirt, while everyone else dressed up. I didn't grow up with computers, he told the assembled students and parents. My family couldn't afford them. The first time I touched a keyboard, I was in high school, using a machine in the public library that was older than I was. He smiled at the memory. But that computer changed my life. It opened doors I didn't know existed. It showed me possibilities I'd never imagined. It started me on a path that eventually led to, well, to being able to stand here today and give you all this. He gestured at the gleaming equipment filling the new lab. I named it the Second Chance Learning Center because everyone deserves a second chance. The kid who's struggling in school deserves a second chance to find their passion. The student who made mistakes deserves a second chance to get it right. The child who's being bullied, he looked at Lily, deserves a second chance to be seen for who they really are. He paused. And yes, the kids who do the bullying deserve a second chance too. A chance to learn better, to grow, to become the kind of people they have the potential to be. Madison Pierce was sitting in the front row, her eyes fixed on the floor. Because here's what I've learned in my life. People can change. Not always, not easily. But with the right encouragement, the right example, the right opportunity, people can become better than they were. And that's what I hope this lab will be. An opportunity, a second chance, for all of you. The applause was warm and genuine, but what mattered more to David was the look on Lily's face, pride and love and understanding, all mixed together. She understood. Finally, completely, she understood. The friendship between Lily and Madison deepened slowly, tested by time and circumstance. There were moments when Madison slipped back into old patterns, a thoughtless comment, a flash of the entitlement she'd been raised with. Each time, Lily responded with patience rather than anger, with explanation rather than accusation. When you said that about Sarah's hair, Lily would say quietly, it reminded her of things people used to say to hurt her, even if you didn't mean it that way. Madison would look stricken. I didn't think. I know. But that's the point. We have to think. We have to imagine how our words land on other people. It was a long education, but Madison was a willing student, driven by guilt over her past behavior and genuine admiration for Lily's character. By the time they reached middle school, Madison had become an advocate. She stood up for kids who were being bullied. She called out mean behavior in her own social circle. She started a peer mentoring program that paired popular students with those who felt isolated. You're like a different person, her mother Karen said one day, watching Madison help organize a donation drive for families in need. I'm the same person. I'm just being better at it." Karen didn't understand, but she noticed the change in her daughter, noticed the kindness that had replaced the cruelty, noticed the depth that had replaced the shallowness, and slowly, reluctantly, she began to wonder if maybe she could change too. High school brought new challenges and new opportunities. Lily Martinez was known now, not as the rich girl or the girl with the famous dad, but as someone who treated everyone with respect, someone who sat with the lonely kids at lunch, someone who helped struggling students without making them feel small. Her reputation preceded her, which made her uncomfortable sometimes. She didn't want to be put on a pedestal. She just wanted to be herself. "People act weird around me," she complained to her father during junior year, "like I'm going to judge them or something." "And do you?" "No, that's the whole point. I try so hard not to judge anyone." "Then keep doing that. Eventually your actions will speak louder than their assumptions." "But what if it takes forever?" "Then it takes forever. Character isn't something you build in a day, Mija. It's something you demonstrate in every moment of every day for your entire life. And even then, some people won't see it. Some people are too stuck in their own assumptions to recognize goodness when it's standing right in front of them." That's depressing. It's realistic, but here's the hopeful part. The people who matter, the ones worth knowing, they see it. They recognize character. They're drawn to it. And those are the relationships that will sustain you throughout your life. The valedictorian speech had been written and rewritten a dozen times. Lily wanted to get it right. She wanted to say something meaningful, something that captured everything she'd learned about character and kindness and the deceptive nature of appearances. Her father helped her with drafts, but never told her what to say. That wasn't his style. He asked questions, offered perspectives, challenged her to think deeper, but the words had to be hers. The night before graduation, Lily sat at the kitchen table with her final draft, reading it out loud to her father. "I learned something important when I was young," she read. "I learned that the people who mock you for having less are usually the ones who have less themselves, less kindness, less character, less understanding of what really matters." She paused, looking at David. "Is it too harsh? About the bullies?" "It's honest. Being bullied is harsh. Naming that isn't wrong. But I don't want Madison to feel bad. She's changed so much." "Madison will understand. She's lived this journey with you. She knows where the words come from." Lily nodded and continued reading. The speech talked about appearances and reality, about the pickup truck and the luxury car, about safety pin backpacks and designer bags, about all the ways people sort each other into categories based on things that don't matter. And it ended with a simple truth. The things that matter most, love, kindness, character, integrity, cannot be bought or sold or displayed on a shelf. They can only be lived day after day, choice after choice, until they become part of who you are. Graduation day arrived warm and sunny. David sat in the front row, next to an empty chair he'd placed there for Maria. He did that at all of Lily's important events, a reminder that her mother was always present, even when she couldn't be there. Madison sat nearby with her family. Karen Pierce had changed over the years, not completely. Old habits died hard, but enough to recognize that wealth wasn't the same as worth. She'd even volunteered at the Second Chance Learning Center, helping kids from disadvantaged families learn computer skills. When Lily took the stage, the audience fell silent. She delivered her speech with the quiet confidence she'd developed over years of being underestimated and overlooked. She talked about her childhood, the bullying, the lessons. She talked about her father's deliberate choice to let her struggle. "Some of you might think that was cruel," she said, "letting a child face mockery when you have the power to stop it. But my dad understood something that took me years to appreciate. The struggles we overcome shape us. The challenges we face build us. The character we develop in hard times is the foundation for everything we become. She looked at her father, tears in both their eyes. Thanks, Papi, for the old truck, for the simple house, for the safety pin backpack, for loving me enough to let me become who I was meant to be. The applause was thunderous, but what Lily would remember most was her father's smile, proud, relieved, full of love, as she walked across the stage to accept her diploma. If you're a parent watching this, wondering how to raise kids with character in a world obsessed with stuff, remember David Martinez. Remember that your children don't need the best of everything. They need you to show them what's really valuable. They need examples, not possessions. Character, not credit cards. And if you're a young person being mocked for what you don't have, remember Lily Martinez. Remember that the people judging you are showing their own poverty, of spirit, of understanding, of human decency. Their words hurt, but they don't define you. Your character does. Like and subscribe for more stories of humble heroes and instant karma. Drop a comment about a time someone judged you by appearances and lived to regret it. Until next time, your worth isn't what you wear, it's who you are. And that's something no one can take away. Years after graduation, Lily Martinez became a teacher herself. Not because she needed the money. Her father's company continued to grow, and she'd inherited more than she could ever spend. She became a teacher because she remembered Mrs. Chen, the kind woman who'd noticed when she was struggling, who'd offered extra help without making it feel like charity, who'd treated her exactly the same before and after the parking lot incident. Mrs. Chen had retired by then, but Lily tracked her down and thanked her. "You were the one adult at that school who never judged me by my backpack," Lily told her former teacher. "You saw me, the real me. That mattered more than you know." Now Lily stood in her own classroom, looking for the quiet kids, the ones with worn clothes and packed lunches and families who were struggling, the ones who sat alone at lunch because the social hierarchies of childhood had declared them unworthy. She saw them, just like Mrs. Chen had seen her, and she made sure they knew, through actions, not words, that their worth had nothing to do with what they carried or wore or drove, that they belonged in her classroom exactly as much as anyone else. That character, kindness, and hard work would take them further than designer labels ever could. "Why do you spend so much time with the struggling kids?" another teacher asked her once. Lily smiled, remembering her father's words from all those years ago. "Because they're going to change the world. They just don't know it yet." David Martinez watched his daughter become everything he'd hoped she would be. A teacher who inspired her students, a friend who supported everyone around her, a woman of character in a world that too often rewarded image over substance. Sometimes, driving his old pickup truck through the neighborhood, he'd pass by Franklin Elementary School, now renamed Martinez Elementary, in honor of his family's donations. He'd see kids streaming out at the end of the day, carrying backpacks of every description, wearing clothes that ranged from designer to thrift store. And he'd wonder which of them were learning the lesson Lily had learned, which of them were building character instead of collecting possessions, which of them would look back someday and understand that the struggles they faced were making them stronger. He hoped it was all of them, but he knew, realistically, that it was only some. Character was hard to build and easy to avoid. Most people took the easy path, the path of appearance over substance, of status over values, of having over being. Lily hadn't taken that path. Neither had Madison, eventually. Neither had the students Lily now taught with such dedication. The legacy continued, not through money or buildings or tax-deductible donations, but through the quiet transmission of values from one generation to the next. That was what David had really been building all along. Not a software company, not a fortune, a family, a philosophy, a way of being in the world that money couldn't buy. And that was worth more than all the luxury cars and all the parking lots in the world.